Title: The Curse of the Whispering Forest. In a kingdom known for its beauty and prosperity, a deep, ancient forest stood at the edge of the land. This forest, known as the Whispering Forest, was both revered and feared. It was a place where merchants traveled to trade with neighboring kingdoms, a place that once saw joy and activity. But in recent years, travelers passing through the forest began to mysteriously vanish, especially at night. People began to avoid it entirely, even though it was the most direct route. Fear spread like wildfire as more stories circulated about strange occurrences. Footsteps heard, shadows seen moving within the trees, and whispers that seemed to follow anyone who dared approach. Despite the growing terror, the king, a wise and strong ruler, sought to uncover the truth of the mysterious disappearances. The king called upon his ministers, the learned scholars and wise sages of the court, to find a solution. After many discussions, one of the kingdom's most revered figures, a powerful and wise sanyasi, stepped forward. Known for his deep spiritual insight and wisdom, the sanyasi volunteered to investigate the forest and uncover the truth. That night, the sanyasi set off, guided only by the moonlight and his deep understanding of the world. The forest was dark and filled with strange noises, but the sannyasi's calm demeanor never faltered. As he ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, he began to feel a chill, as if the air itself had changed. Hours passed, and exhaustion began to take hold of him. It was then that he noticed a faint light in the distance, a small house tucked deep within the trees. His heart skipped a beat as he approached the house, sensing that this would be a place where answers could be found. Upon entering, he was greeted by two men, both appearing as humble caretakers. Their hospitality was genuine, offering food and a place to rest for the night. Despite their kindness, something felt off. The air inside the house seemed heavy, and the shadows on the walls flickered strangely. The sannyasi accepted their offer, but couldn't shake the unease that lingered in his mind. The two men served him a meal, a bowl of goat curry. As the sannyasi sat down to eat, his senses heightened. There was something unusual about the food, something that didn't sit right, but he chose to eat nonetheless. The older brother of the two caretakers smiled at him warmly, but there was an odd satisfaction in his gaze. As the sannyasi ate, he casually asked about the younger brother, who was not present. The older brother responded, saying that the younger brother had gone out to gather supplies and would return shortly. But the sannyasi noticed that time passed without the younger brother returning. His suspicions grew as he observed the older brother's increasingly eager expression. After finishing his meal, the sanyasi washed his hands. The older brother offered to massage his feet, urging him to rest. The sanyasi agreed but remained alert. As the conversation continued, he grew more and more convinced that something was terribly wrong. Finally, after some tense moments, the sanyasi asked again, "Where is your younger brother?" The older brother hesitated before answering, "He will come when you sleep." A sudden stillness filled the room. The sannyasi's eyes narrowed. He will not come. He is already dead." The older brother's face twisted in disbelief and anger. "What are you talking about? We cannot die." The sannyasi remained calm, unwavering in his truth. "Everyone who is born must eventually die. It is the law of nature." The older brother sneered, "Then I will prove you wrong. He will come when I call him." With a loud, chilling cry, the older brother called out, "Come out! Come out!" His voice echoed through the walls, but there was no response. The sannyasi stood and faced the older brother with unwavering confidence. "He will not come, for he is already within me." In a moment of pure rage, the older brother's human form began to distort, his features melting away into a grotesque, monstrous form. His body twisted and grew larger, revealing the true nature of the creature that had been hiding beneath the human facade. His monstrous form towered over the sanyasi, eyes glowing with hatred. "You fool! You have destroyed him!" The monster roared, launching itself at the sanyasi with terrifying speed. But the sanyasi, calm and wise, prepared for the battle. Drawing upon his deep knowledge of spiritual power and divine strength, he fought back fiercely. His movements were swift, precise, and powerful. The monster, desperate to destroy the sanyasi, attacked with all its fury, but the sannyasi's strength and wisdom proved greater. The two clashed violently, with the creature's claws raking through the air. The walls of the house shook with the force of the battle, but the sanyasi, knowing this would be the only way to save the kingdom, fought with everything he had. In a final, decisive move, the sanyasi summoned all his spiritual energy and struck the creature with a force that sent it flying across the room. The monster screamed, its form beginning to disintegrate, its power fading as it fled into the forest, leaving behind nothing but a lingering darkness. Breathing heavily but victorious, the sanyasi turned to leave the cursed house. As he stepped out into the forest once more, the morning light began to break through the trees. The nightmare was over. Upon his return to the kingdom, the king anxiously awaited news of the sannyasi's journey. The wise man entered the royal court and spoke of the horrors he had discovered in the forest. He explained how the two caretakers were not human, but shape-shifting monsters, capable of transforming into anything they desired. Plants, animals, and even humans. The younger brother had transformed into a goat, and those who ate his flesh would fall into a deep, unnatural sleep. The older brother would then call upon the younger brother, and the monstrous form would burst forth from the stomachs of the victims, killing them. The court fell silent, horrified by the revelation. The sannyasi continued, "The younger monster has been destroyed, but the older one still lives. It must be hunted down and destroyed before it can hurt anyone else. The house too must be burned, for it is the source of the curse." Without hesitation, the king ordered his warriors to hunt down the remaining monster. The cursed resting place in the forest was set ablaze, consumed by flames that would forever cleanse the land of its dark influence. With the forest purified, peace was restored to the kingdom. Travelers once again journeyed safely through the whispering forest, no longer afraid to pass through the dark woods at night. The king, grateful for the sannyasi's bravery, ensured that the kingdom would never forget the lessons learned that night. The whispering forest, once a place of fear, had been cleansed and would remain a safe path for all who traveled through it. And thus the kingdom prospered in peace, forever guarded by the wisdom and strength of its people and the bravery of those who stood against the darkness.